All right. So again, just as an introduction, the whole point really is about you or us putting our best foot forward. Okay. And everybody's doing pretty much the same thing. It's a very competitive process we're going through, and you have thousands of people going through the same process. And so you keep wondering what makes candidate A different from candidate B. What are the programs looking at? What is the program that say, hey, I like this person's application over this person's application. Now it's you kind of have an idea what they're looking out for, but at the end of the day, it really boils down to the program director who's reviewing the application and the program. But while you do not have a control over how the program is perceiving you, you have a control over how you want the program to perceive you to some extent. Okay. And that's where, all of these different sections come in: the personal information, the biographics, the education and this new section that they've added onto this ERAS, the experience section. It's pretty new and quite interesting. If you had to go through it, you would understand how interesting the dynamics there is. And then your publications, letters of recommendation, and your personal statement. All of this is you trying to get the program to see you in a certain way, a way that is outstanding, a way that stands out. Okay. So our focus today really is to find ways to put our publication, our research, stand out for us. Okay, so we're going to at this point, do you have any questions? I just want to hear our thoughts for those who have started putting together their ERAS application. What have been the things you've experienced? What have been your challenges or your experiences? Anything you'd like to share so that we kind of have a sense of what people are experiencing out there. Anybody? Dr. Bolanli, your screen is staring me at the face. So what has been your experience trying to put together, if you've started? I'm not sure, I don't know if you have, but if you have, what has been your experience? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I said probably because I applied last year, so most of the information was just it was easy for me to like navigate through most of those things. And the new addition that was added, the geographical location and all that, because I also filled supplemental ERAS last year, which I think is something as in similar. They just imported it into this ERAS application. So it was easy for me to like navigate through it. Then also as per some of my experiences, those experiences that I had that I used last year, I just modified some things. Then the new things I was able to acquire over a year, so I added that to the experience too. Then yeah, so far. And I didn't even need to do anything for the transcript for the MSP because it just uploaded for me automatically. So and I was worried about that how am I going to like upload it again and all that. But by the time I bought my token, maybe few hours after it uploaded, everything uploaded back. Yeah. So it was kind of easy. So I have almost all my information except maybe save or search program. So I've not started with that. So far that's
Okay, sounds good. Brilliant, brilliant. Is there anybody who's to the platform who's new to ERAS, who's been trying to put together the publication section of ERAS and has had any questions or any concerns, anything at all to share, or any experiences to share? Anybody who's listening to us is new to ERAS platform and trying to put together the publication section. Anybody? We just want to hear your experience. Okay, all right.
Hi. Oh, okay.
Yes, please go on, please. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm new to it. It's all new, but I haven't had time to like really go through like everything because I'm preparing for exams. My step 2 is very close. So yeah, that's that.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds All right. So we'll swing into it. Dr. Bolanle, I'd love for you to click on the form. So really where so there are a few places where you can sell yourself in terms of your research. And I would say really these days, most of the fields there are inclining towards seeing candidates that have research. That's really the truth. Everybody is beginning to realize that research is driving the advances in medicine. Like we've spoken about it over and over, you know, the guidelines that we're seeing today are a product of research works that have been going on in those fields. Okay, so applicants stand out when you're able to demonstrate that at least you've got some research going on. And frankly, the more the merrier, because it just shows that you have a commitment to the field and that you're willing to, advance that field. Now, people ask questions. They say, "Hey, does it have to be, say, for example, I'm applying to psychiatry. Does it have to be only psychiatry publications? Frankly, not. Okay, medicine is one and uniform. Now, if you've got only psychiatry publications, absolutely, it makes your story more direct. It just makes sense that you've all been doing psychiatry all this while, and when you're saying I'm interested in psychiatry, it just makes sense. Other publications, for internal medicine, you know, several psychiatrists have to be restricted to it. Even at the level of fellowship, people also say publications you have across the doesn't have to be you have more cardiology. And and again, somehow, if you're interested in cardiology, you will just notice that you will incline towards cardiology publications. It just happens naturally somehow. Okay, so the more the merrier, and it doesn't necessarily have to be only in that field that you're interested in. If you've got other publications in other fields, other publications from way back, your university days, the days you were doing your masters, whatever the case may be, all of those publications will come into your area. And there are certain places you can highlight your publication. One of them is obviously the publication section. Obviously, that's something you want to list out, everything you've done. But there are two other places that I think can serve as, where you want to talk about your publications. One of them is the experience section. Okay, so say for example, you have this research work that you did, made a huge impact in your career pursuit. It was published in this amazing journal, and it did impact you in a very strong way. You want to talk about that research in your experience section. Okay, so I participated in this prostate cancer project, and during this project, we were looking to do this and do that and do that. And this is what we did. These were the results that we generated. And this is how this project impacted on my pursuit for this career, if that makes sense. So yeah, your experience is somewhere where, one of the experiences, if you do have something like that, if you have some outstanding, say for example, you had a grant, for a research project, or you were working on a controlled trial, or something that stood out for you. I will use myself for example. I was on this COVID-19 project, where we were looking at a monoclonal antibody at a nursing home. At the time I was working as a research coordinator. I wasn't the one doing the project myself. I was on a job pretty much. But I described that experience as a research experience for me, and talked about how, I've always believed that research is a tool to advance medicine. And that was what inclined, pushed me towards, taking up that job. And this is how I participated in it. And these were the results of the job, of the project. And this is how the results of the project changed my mindset about research or affected me towards my career pursuits. All right, so something like that you want to do. The other place where I think you may also your research is your personal statement. Okay. Now, you don't want to crowd your personal statement with a lot, but again, if you do have a research experience that you think stood out for you, then you want to talk about it briefly in your personal statement. If you don't and you want to summarize your research experience, you could also do that in your personal statement. You could say, my interest in advancing psychiatry culminated in my research experiences where I was involved in a couple of projects. And, most outstanding for me was this project where this and this and this was done, and this result came out of it. And it just, continued to foster my commitment to the field. All right. So, 2 lines, 3 lines, nothing too elaborate, but something to demonstrate an outstanding or an interesting project you had worked on, or just a summary of your research, experience. Okay, so those are 3 places you can talk about your research. Now, obviously, in the publication section, Dr. Bolani, do you want to click on the publication section? Do we have any questions at this point? Any questions? You want to click on the save? Yes. Any questions, contributions at this point? Okay, so you want to click on add entry for a second.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so there's several types of projects that you possibly would have worked on, or that you're working on, or that you're proposing, or that you've submitted and you haven't gotten a response back on. And all of these projects, ERAS has been able to beautifully create categories where you're able to impute these different projects. All right. Okay. So say, for example, I will start off with the most common one. You write a review paper, all right, a systematic review, a meta-analysis, and you submit it to a journal. Okay. And it was accepted, published. Okay. You will want to impute that information in your peer-reviewed journal articles. Dr. Blanley, do you want to click on peer-reviewed? Yes, that one, the first one. All right. So here in this peer-reviewed journal article is where you want to submit your systematic reviews, your meta-analysis, your original research, if you have any. Okay. The publication type is already listed there. The journal article title is where you want to put the title of your paper. All right. So you worked on, 1 second. Okay. Yes, brilliant. Yes. Another research, thank you, Dr. Ed, for bringing that up. Your research experience can be your participation in IMG Research Academy. All right. That can be a research experience. And the way you want to describe it is what will make the difference. As part of so I'm giving an example. I like to give examples as I'm moving through because it makes the conversation easier, so that you have an idea how you can approach it. And there's no hard and fast rule. It doesn't have to be my way. It can go any way. Okay. So, I was privileged to be a part of the research academy where we were involved in, where we took part in multiple research projects. Our passion was driven by this and this and this and this. And I did participate in a lot of projects where I was involved in as a reviewer, as this and this and this and this. Okay. Of the several projects I worked on, one of them that stood out for me was, obesity in the rural settings, for example. I think we have one project like that, but I'm not remembering exactly the title. Okay. And this was why this project stood out for me. This was what I did, this is how I partook in that project. This was what I did. These were the results that we found. Okay. And this is how I'm believing that this results would potentially change the course of medicine in the right direction. This experience was outstanding for me because it just brought to life how much research makes a difference in the field of medicine, the field of internal medicine, psychiatry, or whatever the case may be. So thank you, Dr. Ed, for pointing that out. All right, so any questions, any comments at this point? All right, so journal article title, you want to put the title of your paper. Dr. Bolani, do you mind just typing, let's say, the scourge of obesity in rural environment, the rural community, the scourge of obesity.
Sorry, scourge?
Scourge, SC, the burden of obesity. Okay, the burden of obesity.
Okay.
burden of obesity in rural America. We have a project like this on this academy, actually. This has been one of our very heavily cited projects, by the way. Not sure I'm actually getting the right title, but it goes something like this. Let me see. Dr. Ed is okay. All right. So Dr. Ed is typing in the chat, just the way you can word your experience as far as the IMG Research Academy is concerned. He says offers an exceptional opportunity for enriching medical research experience and processes. Within this academy, we delve into medical research and embrace key aspects of research learning process. A beautiful way to talk about what you're doing, or and how you're participating in the research academy, and how that is an experience for you, and how it's driving you towards your passion. Okay, so that's the topic, right? And then the authors, you want to list the authors. Okay, now the different questions that come up at this point. People say, okay, so let's start off first. The last name comes in first, right? The last name, the comma, first initial, full stop, and then middle initial. So let's say let's say James or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Anything. Thank you. TB dot, yes, dot, comma. Okay. So dot, comma. I think after the H you have a dot and then a comma as well.
Okay, there's dot, then comma. Okay.
All right. So, and then the second author and third author, just like that, the same way it is on your publication. Now, say for example, you have a paper that has 20 authors on it. All right. What I would do is I would list the initial authors and put my name wherever it falls on that paper. Okay. And I will put et al. Okay. Because I may not be able to list the entire 20 things. And frankly, nobody's going to sit and say, oh, okay, I had 20 authors. Why didn't you list the 20 authors? Nobody's going to do that. So if you're the first author on it, great. You just put your name and a few other authors, maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that's fine. If you're on the 10th, if you're the 10th author, that's fine. You list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could put dot, 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 and put my name and put et al. Or I could list 9 and put my name as the 10th and put et al. Whichever works pretty fine, frankly. All right. So the publication name is the name of the journal where you've published the paper. So you published in Curious, you published in JCO, you published in American American Society of the ASH. For example, you published in ASH. Okay, so wherever you published, that is the publication name. And then the article URL is the link of the web page where the article is on. So most of the articles will be online, definitely. So that link is your URL. Okay. So now the volume, I believe we've been able, let me see if, okay, let me quickly share my screen and I'm going to pull up one paper. So we're able to see where to get out the volume and get out the pages, get out the issue number, month, and year. So let me take up the ability to share the screen from you, Dr. Bonali, for 1 second.
Okay.
So now I can share my screen. I just want to show us, give me 1 second. Let me just show us real quick. Let's see. Let me see what paper we can use here. Okay, so let's say, let's use one of our projects that we've worked on. Yes, so the burden of obesity, yes, great. So this paper just popped up. Okay, nice. So this is an example of a paper that we could put into the publication section. And what I was looking to show you was, so this 13 is your volume number, 6 is your issue number, and this is your page number. All right, so 13 is your volume number, 6 is your issue number, and this is your page number. Sometimes when you look at some other papers, you will see the page number as, page 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 or whatever the case may be. All right, but with couriers, a lot of times they write their page numbers this way, E15770. Sometimes they also say E15770 to E, whatever the case may be. All right, so your volume is 13, your issue is 6, and your page number is this. The date, the year, of course, is 2021, and it was published in June 2021. So that's a way to, now this is an example of the paper. So say, for example, Dr. Iyanu V. Olateju is, somewhere here, this the 8th author on this paper. I would list 1, 2, 3, 4. I could put ... if I want to, or I could list the entire thing and put my name wherever it is and say et al. All right, because I may not be able to go through the entire list and just say et al. Okay, sounds good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I can stop sharing. You mind just taking it away from there, and let's see your screen one more time. Okay. All right. All right, thanks. So again, like Dr. excuse me, Dr. Ed said in the chat group, that's really just an idea. Okay, there's several ways you can write it, you can modify this, you can, but it just gives a sense. And what we're really trying to do is getting you to realize that that's an experience you can put. And I would strongly recommend to the way you word it makes the difference, of course. But it's something you can put in your experience section. Okay, as part of the activities you've done over the last 1 year or 2 years to demonstrate your research interest. All right. So some people have some of these papers have PubMed ID. Let's see. Okay, let me just give I on the screen I was sharing on the last slide. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I had gone out of the screen, but on the paper, you will see the PubMed. On the paper that I had just shared, if you look on the top right, you will see the PubMed ID of that paper. All right, on the paper that I just shared. I know you cannot see my screen right now, but so most of the papers, especially if they end up in PubMed, have a PubMed ID, and you can put in the PubMed ID there, and then put your pages and the issue number and the volume number we talked about, and you hit save. Now, Dr. Brown, you might just put in, you can just put, whatever it is, just to fill up the required fields. You can, just whatever. Or let's make it a bit. Let's do an actual one. So put in your search box this paper that I've just pulled out. Let's do an actual one and let's see what it looks like. So the burden of obesity in rural adult population of America. So pull that paper up in your search engine. So open a new search engine, search, and just say the burden of obesity, in the rural adult population of America. In the rural adult population of America. Do we have any questions or any contributions at this point? Okay, scroll. Okay, there you go. So you can click on this second link here.
Sorry, this one.
The one down that one. Yes, that one.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. So if you look again on the screen, you will see the PubMed ID. If you look towards where the Twitter sign is, just before the Twitter sign, yes, that's the PubMed ID. So let's just copy a few things. So copy the PubMed ID, right click, copy, and paste. Okay.
So I should go paste it there, right?
Okay, yes, you can paste it on.
Okay. Where? Here, volume?
PMID.
Okay.
Okay. 1. All right. So let's go back to the page again. Let's copy the URL. So if you put your mouse on this After the DOI, you can click on the, or you could as well just click on the link on the search bar here. So up here where there's this www.ncbi.nlb. Up on the search bar where you go up, up. Take your mouse up again, take your mouse up, your mouse, keep going up.
Okay.
Mouse up again. Up.
Yeah.
So that link, you can copy that link.
Oh, okay.
You can just, yeah, there you go. Right click, okay, there you go. And then let's go back to that page. I think our volume number is 13, our issue number is 6. Okay.
Okay.
So go back to this. Okay, so you can paste it here. And then volume number is 30.
Sorry, you said 30. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't hear you.
13.
Okay.
Issue number is 6, I believe.
6, okay.
And then page number is E155. Give me 1 second. I'll just make sure of that again. So page number is E15770.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What else is left? So month was in June, and then year was 2021. Month was in June, and year was 2021. Okay. All right. And then you can scroll up. You can, yeah, I just want to see the author part of the, so this is the author part of this is a demo, of course. This is not the actual author, but this is a demo. So you can hit save.
Save, okay.
All right, so this is how it appears, frankly, and so you can go on with all the other projects that you've worked on that have been published in a journal. All right, let's do a few more so I can show you a few other dynamics. Add entry. Now, let's say, for example, you worked on a paper and you've submitted the paper, all right, but it's not been published yet. Okay, so Dr. Ed is saying, please convert the caps to normal writing. Okay, yeah, so yeah, normal writing, of course. All right, so let's say, for example, you haven't published the paper, you've submitted it to the journal, you're waiting to get a response. That comes under peer-reviewed journal articles plus abstracts other than published. That's where that comes under. And now when you click on other than published, you will go through the same thing. The only difference here is when you scroll down to the bottom, you will see where it says publication status, all right? And then you click on publication status, and this is where all the other things come up. Is it submitted? Is it under review? Is it accepted but in press? Is it in the preprint phase? All right. And then you choose what is appropriate. If it's submitted, you click submitted, and you're still waiting for their response. Okay. So that's what you do here. Now, so this is one more. So say, for example, a few more. So say, for example, you have a poster presentation. Poster presentations also come under this place. You want to close this page. Okay. And then add entry again. And then right click. Okay. So you have a poster presentation. All right. You want to click on poster presentation. And then, of course, the poster title, the authors, the event or meeting. If it was ACP, conference, or it was even your hospital poster presentation day, whatever the case may be, you want to put in the event, in the country where it happened, the city, and then the presentation dates, okay? And then you save that. All right, so the other case reports also come under, peer-reviewed journal papers, whether published or not published. That's where case reports also come in, literature reviews, original papers, meta-analysis, whatever the case may be. All right, do we have any questions at this point? Yes, no?
I do. I have a question.
Can you, Dr. Brownlee, can you answer this? All right, yes, please.
I also have a question.
Please go on.
Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Oh, okay. So I have a question concerning the poster presentation aspect. So if it's a poster presentation, but it was not like, does it count as a poster presentation if it wasn't like what's the word? Presented? I don't know, like I did a poster okay, for example, I did this poster presentation as part of requirement for something, but it wasn't like presented at a conference or anything, but we had to submit it like, and it had to be accepted and everything. So I don't know if it still counts as a poster presentation. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
It was discussed, sorry, it was accepted as a poster.
Yes.
It's a poster presentation.
Okay. Okay.
You don't have to, okay, all right, yes. I'm going to answer a few other, there are little other dynamics here and there we'll talk about, but yes, if it was accepted as a poster.
Okay, what do you want to eat, baby?
Hot dog.
Hot dog?
Yeah.
Hot dogs for breakfast.
Your hot dog cooked the breakfast.
The other thing is you don't have to have been the one who presented the paper in the conference, but you're on that paper. What you're really saying is that this paper that we worked on, of course, people know research is a group, very few people who do solo research. A lot of people do group research, all right? So if you worked on there's a project, that project was accepted for a poster presentation. Whether you were the third author or the fourth author, it really doesn't matter. As long as you the paper, okay? Your name is in the third position, that's fine. Putting your name where it should be, that's fine, all right? If that conversation does come up during the interview, you're definitely going to say, my team and I worked on this project that was accepted at this conference. If the question comes very specifically, were you the one who presented it? Of course, you're going to be sincere and say, no, it was, our paper was accepted and we had a author who was available to present the paper. But nobody is really going to ask, were you the one or not? What they really want to know is, what was your participation? Tell me about this paper. That's pretty much, if there's going to be any questions like that, what you're really going to hear is, tell me about this paper. All right. What were the results of this paper? What did you guys find? Everybody knows that research is a group effort, and you make your research stronger if you're able to pull a team together. All right. What if you did a case report that was not submitted? Can it be? No. So okay, we're going to talk about those nuances, but was not submitted, not exactly. Unfortunately, ERAS doesn't have a place for not submitted. Okay. ERAS doesn't have that option for not submitted, but yeah. Okay. So somebody else had another question.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Okobi. My question is based on local. Okay, so if I've had some publications in a local journal, let's say Nigerian journal, which is yet to come, which they are yet to put online. Actually, they just put it online like within the last 1 year, but the publications have been made way before then. So do I still go ahead to put it there? How do I handle, if you get what I mean?
I totally understand. Dr. Bolale, do you mind click on the select again?
Okay.
Abstracts. Yeah, let's go to the abstracts. The first. Sorry. Okay.
The first one, right?
Sorry. Yes. You are
Okay.
the right. If you see here, I'm not sure who asked, but doctor, if you see on this page, you will see that the URL is not a compulsory field. All right. It's not a compulsory field. So if you published the paper on wherever the journal is, you should have at least this basic information that make up the compulsory field. You should have an author. You should have a publication name. You should have a volume, page, issue number, year, and month. For those papers, as long as it has gone into a journal, whether it's online or not, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Online, you have a URL, and if you look again, ERAS is aware of that nuance. We haven't made the URL a compulsory field.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No worries. Okay, so a few other dynamics. I think we've gone through most of the categories. Do you mind going a step back again? Let's look at the other things there are in that place and see, where a few other things can fit into. you mind going back to, you want to cancel this page?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, add entry. All right, select. Okay, so book chapters, for people who have, written chapters and books, this is also where your book chapter comes in. All right, so if if you've had that privilege to edit a chapter of a paper or something like that, book chapters, that's where book chapters come in. Oral presentation. So sometimes when you submit some papers, they say you've been accepted as poster presentation. On some other instances, they say you've been accepted as oral presentation. All right. Yeah, about the same thing, just slightly different. For example, in ASCO has this platform where there's poster presentation and then oral presentation. So oral presentation, people take turns, come up stage and talk about their research projects. All right. People weigh oral presentation slightly stronger than poster presentation, but frankly, for the purpose of our applications, it really doesn't matter. If your paper was accepted as an oral presentation, great. That's where it comes in. If it was accepted as a poster presentation, usually when you get the email or the response, whatever the case may be, they will tell you what they've accepted you as. They say you've been accepted as an oral presentation or as a poster presentation. That's where it comes in. Now, there's this unique instance where you've been accepted for the presentation, but it's not yet due. It's sometime later in the year. People will ask, should I still put it in my application? Yes, without a doubt, put it in your application. All right. As long as there's something like that, it was accepted, and you're going to be going for the conference later in the year, please put it in your plan. Just put the date as ahead. So October, 24, 2024. It will make sense. If it catches anybody's attention, they're going to say, hey, I see that you have a paper that is, you're going to be presenting pretty soon, and you talk about it. Yes, I do have a paper. I'm really excited about it. I'll be going to Albany to present, this research project. And, I'd love to just talk to them about, what we found, blah, 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 blah. All right. Okay, you want to scroll down a little bit. Let's see what else is left there. Okay, peer-reviewed online publication, non-peer-reviewed online publication. So for the most part, what can go into the first category can also go into peer-reviewed online publication. There's some journals that publish as online publication somehow, okay? But for me, I'm able to put most of my stuff that is online in the first abstract, that first section, okay? I did not really utilize a lot of the peer-reviewed online publication because I strongly believe that it's about the same thing with the first category, all right? Do you mind clicking on other articles, let's say? So let's say, for example, other articles is you published in New York Times or Washington Post or, whatever the case may be, something about healthcare or something about whatever projects you've worked on, okay? Or you have something you've published elsewhere that you're not really able to fit into the category that's been lifted. But by the time you've gone through most of the things, you should have been able to fit in most of your papers into all of those sections. But let's say something just is not able to fit into any of those, then you may want to put it in other articles. Title of the other article, the author, the publication name. All right. Okay. Do we have any questions at this point?
Yes,
I-
thank you, Dr. Kobe. So my question is, if you had this case report that you presented at a conference and then later on went on to publish it in a journal, so can you present it in these two sections of your application?
I like that. I like that question a great deal because I also had so some journals, again, I'll use ASCO as an example. When they accept you for presentation, they will publish that work in their in JCO, okay, in their journal. Now, yes, I will duplicate it if I have to. I will put it in poster presentation and put it in publication. Even if it was an abstract, say for example, what you submitted was an abstract, you haven't written the entire paper, all right? I will put it in poster presentation and abstracts, in a journal, okay? People have different arguments. Some people will say, oh, doesn't it look like you're duplicating your work? Does it? For me, it really depends on how the purpose it serves and how it makes my CV look, all right? You're probably not going to have a lot of those. Maybe you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 of those, okay? But I think it's perfectly okay to include them in both places because that's really what they are. You presented it on one hand, and then the journal also published it on the other hand. I think it's perfectly okay. But one dynamic I personally had, and I'll share my own experience. So I had this paper that was also accepted in both instances, all right? In order not to make it look like I was duplicating a lot, the unique part of it was that on that paper, I wasn't the person who presented. I wasn't the first author. So I put it as accepted in journal. I didn't put it as poster presentation. Now, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not saying you cannot. You obviously can do both. It really just depends on how it's making your CV look. Does it make my CV look great? I would say to do it. Okay. For me, I could afford to do that because when I looked at my CV, I felt like, okay, it won't really matter so much if I'm able to switch up things here and there. Okay. So, but yes, you can do that. Yes. Simple.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Okobi. My second question is on, okay, let's take, for instance, you've worked on a major dissertation that you have submitted to maybe like a body, an exam body. For instance, let's say after your PhD or a residency program in Nigeria, for instance, they're yet to put it online. They're yet to put that publication online, excuse me, and you're also yet to publish it in an American journal. Where do you put such dissertation or whatever on your ERAS, on your publications?
Has it been accepted, you said?
Do you understand?
Been accepted? Has that?
Yes, it's been accepted by, okay, yes, for instance, like West African College of Physicians, it's not recognized here in America. So where do you put, but they haven't uploaded it online.
Okay, gotcha. So, so quickly, let me answer this. Let me just quickly demystify something. It doesn't have to be an American journal. Okay.
Okay.
It definitely doesn't have to be. Of course, these guys are cognizant of the fact that people are coming from all over the world. All right. So it definitely doesn't have to be an American journal that you should have submitted your publication to. Wherever you've submitted your publication to, and any established journal that accepts papers, whatever the case is, should come into your areas. Now, to answer the first part of your question, where should that go into? So, Dr. Bolani, do you mind canceling this and going back to, okay, add entry. Okay. So, it's been accepted but hasn't been published. Is that the case?
No. It's been, like it's an exam body. It's like a prerequisite for getting for instance, after your residency, you must submit a major dissertation and all that. So it's been accepted by that body, West African College of Physicians. It's just that they've not uploaded it on their website. I don't know if you get what I mean.
You understand?
For you to you could just Google it and see it right there on their website. So they are still in the process, but they are just up to like 2016. Those that did from 2016, and you get what I mean. So
Yeah.
they've not done it for a year.
Okay. So I wouldn't put it as peer-reviewed journal article / abstract. I wouldn't necessarily do that. Maybe I could fit it into other than published. Maybe I would fit it in there.
Okay.
Maybe I will fit it in there. Yeah, maybe I will fit it. Do you mind scrolling down a bit? Let's just see peer-reviewed book chapter, peer-reviewed online publication, non-peer-reviewed online publication, other articles. Click on other articles for a second. Publication name, authors, title of other articles. Yeah, maybe I will fit it here as well. Okay, maybe I will fit it here as well, or maybe I will fit it into the one that says, can you go back a step, please? Yeah, maybe I'll fit it, either I fit it into this peer review journal articles / abstracts other than published, or I'll fit it into other articles.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what I would do. All right, do we have any other questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Dr. Krieger, for the presentation. I joined in late, so my apologies in advance if you already talked about it. If you have papers that are not published, can you put that in, excuse me, that was not accepted? Can you put that in the other articles section? Or you just don't put it in your application at all? It was rejected, so yeah, sorry for that. Yeah.
I probably maybe not. But
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Then I probably wouldn't put it on. I wouldn't include it in the publication if it was rejected.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, so I think we've gone through where can we find the PubMed ID. All right, so let's go back to that paper one more time. Let's go back to that paper. Dr. Bolali,
Yeah.
University paper, so we can show them where we can find the PubMed ID.
Is it this?
That paper, yes.
Okay.
So the doctor asking about where we can find the PubMed ID. If you look here where this Twitter sign is, just before the Twitter sign, PMID. So on this paper, this is where you can find the PMID. Most NIH publications like this, you would usually find the PMID somewhere around there. All right.
All right.
Any other questions? I see 2 hands were raised.
Yes, good evening. Please, I do have a question. Regarding the PubMed index journals, I want to ask, those that are not PubMed indexed, are they considered less weighty to those that are indexed?
No. So there are a lot of dynamics to it. Okay. I would say no, right? It's for you, for us as the applicants. This is not so much about which is weightier or which is not. This is about putting out our research strengths. Okay. Wherever it is we've published on, we should include them on ERAS. Okay. That conversation about which is weightier should be left for the program directors or whoever is reviewing the documents. And in my experience, nobody's really sitting down to look at it's published on NIH, PubMed, it's not published on PubMed. No, what people are really looking to see if there's anybody who's going to go through your publications is what work has this person done, okay, and what was this person's participation on this project, and how did this project make a difference? Okay, so if I'm going to ask you, tell me about this project, I'm not really looking to see whether or not it was published on PubMed or no. I'm really looking to see your level of participation on that project. How much do you know about the project? What were the results of the project? You don't have to know it in depth, okay? But we did a systematic review of African Americans who were in rural area with obesity. And what we're really looking to find was, what were the prevalence, the incidence of obesity in these regions, and what were the factors that were affecting obesity. And what we found was that this, and this, and this. it was quite an amazing project because going through it. So you see how I'm talking about a project. I'm not necessarily going into the nuances or the details, but I'm talking about it. I'm taking ownership of the project. You'll be surprised I probably wasn't even first author on that project. But nobody cares because the way you're going through the project will demonstrate your level of commitment to that project. These guys understand that, yeah, you may not be first author, you may be second author, nobody really bothers so much about all of those. What they want to see is, I have written this project as something I have participated in. Can you tell me about it? If that question ever comes up, some people want to hear you. Are you comfortable talking about this project that you say you've worked on? All right. So, a simple answer to your question, no. An indirect answer to that question is that's not something you want to worry about at all. If you've done anything wherever you've published it, please bring it on here. As long as you're able to talk about it, and that's a different conversation. When interviews come up, when we get to that point, we'll talk about being able to talk about your research projects.
Thank you.
No worries. All right. Do we have any other questions? We're at the top of our hour. It's 8 o'clock already. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. My question is, so we just have to focus only on the starred one, as in, I know URL is not starred, so, and PMID, so we don't really have to put it there, right?
Okay, so do you have to focus on the starred one? I mean, the starred ones are the required field, meaning you cannot save this page until you fill up those columns. All right, that's what it means. It's a required field. You have to put something there. The URL, if you have a URL, by all means put it. I mean, there's no harm, right? By the time you save this, okay, the URL gets highlighted, sort of. So that way, over your mouse around the URL, it just highlights and somebody can just hit on it and it takes them to the page of the paper directly. That's the beauty of having a URL. If you don't have a URL, don't worry so much about it. If the paper doesn't have a URL, if it's not online also, I mean, it's not I do about it. So that's not something, and that's the beauty of this. That's why they haven't put it as a required field, because they are also cognizant of the fact that you may not have access to the URL, or the paper may also not have a URL.
Thank you.
There was a question in the chat for clarification. ISSN, because I'm only seeing ISSN and not PubMed ID. No, I don't believe that ISSN is the same as PubMed ID. PubMed IDs are for papers that are on PubMed. So you may have a publication that is not on PubMed. And not everything goes on PubMed, by the way. PubMed, is great, but there's so many other beautiful journals out there that may not necessarily be on PubMed. So PubMed is not it's not a yardstick to judge which is perfect and which is not. Well, in my opinion, not necessarily. Okay. So yeah, if your paper is not on PubMed, then you probably wouldn't have a PubMed ID. And again, if you look here, you will see that PubMed ID is not a compulsory field. It doesn't have an asterisk to it, meaning that you may have a publication that's not on PubMed, and you probably definitely wouldn't have an idea. All right. Okay. All right. What if you have a case report that is still under peer review? Yeah, so you include that as submitted. Submitted is still under peer review, but you've submitted it, so you include it as submitted, other than published. So that option that says other than published, yeah, the one that says exactly other than published, and then you include as submitted. All right. Okay. So so just as a summary, and I will stop sharing pretty soon, so we can go into the other sections there are before we wrap up the day. But just as a summary, this really is the place where you talk about your strength as far as research is concerned. Okay. The more the merrier, I would say, frankly. Somehow it's a numbers game. You have 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever the case may be, the more the merrier. But don't freak out so much about how many you have. Oh, I don't have 2, I have 3, I have 4. I mean, it's not, what you can do now is work towards getting more. The more as much as you can. And whatever you have, please put it here on ERAS. By the time you preview your CV, you will see how beautifully your publications are outlined. And it does speak to your strengths as an applicant, as a physician, and somebody who's looking to advance the science and the field that you're going to. All right. Okay. So that being said, if you have a published paper that is unavailable to the public, can you add that? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Why not? Being available or not to the public really doesn't change anything. Okay, all right. So let me stop, Dr. Bolali. Do you mind? Can you stop sharing, and then I will stop the recording as well.
Okay.